Good morning, everybody. Welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Texas Homer, joined by Coach Dub, Eric Nalleen. We're going to talk some notes that Eric had from Saturday. We're going to get into the draft and what the draft might look like next year. Should be a little bit different. Before we do that, guys, head over to Inside Texas right now, flash sale. Join for just $1. New members only. Would love to see you over there. Link is in the description below. Come on and join. All right, Eric, we had some good stuff from Saturday. I want to pull that up and hit some of the key points so we can squeeze the juice out of here and everybody can get this good stuff. They open, sources and Eric, with wide receiver being the best overall unit on offense right now. I think it's the deepest we've ever had in the Sark era, that's for sure. But what were the quick notes here?
Well, the quick notes is I can already tell I messed up that quarterback's header. Scroll down a little bit. Did I mess them all up or did I fix them? That drives me crazy. Golly. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously deep and talented. And, we're already seeing I saw a mock with Ryan Wingo being properly respected. They had him going in the first round of next year. Obviously, it's a little too early for him. He's got a lot of work to do. But
yeah,
it's bolstered by Cam Coleman at the top. And then you got Jermaine Bishop that's obviously going to play a ton this year. I think the complementary parts of, vertical Coleman, horizontal Wingo make it a strong unit on itself. And then you got Dalen McCutcheon, who I don't know if he can be a pro or a good pro. I do know that he can be a good, productive college wide receiver. I feel very confident in that. You've got Emmett Mosley coming back towards the end of spring. And then along with Jermaine Bishop, you got some other young guys that are really talented too. So, yeah, it's probably the most ready. And when I was talking about most, best right now, it's like if they had to play tomorrow, which position would be ready to go? So wide receiver.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here.
Oh my gosh.
Well, this is from the Saturday intel.
Yeah, I didn't do the headers.
So let's talk about how KJ Lacey's been received in the program. I thought he had a really good showing in practice, but what did we not see as well behind the scenes?
Well, I mean, he was doing that all spring. We talked about it all spring on the show, on IT. I'm glad he went out and did that. Had he gone out and struggled, I would have been, scratching my head, even though, look, he looked good even given the pressure he had. We never really heard about him being under that much duress during spring. So he looked good, obviously, in a better climate, but he looked good even when things were sped up considerably. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how everything plays out with Lacey because I like the guy's game. I don't really care about height. This is college football. I'm not a size queen necessarily. I don't buy into things like large humans on the offensive line. If you can play, you can play. I like his decision making. I like his quickness. I think he's quick at everything he does. That's such a huge part of college football. I'm in a bit of a debate with some of my buddies that follow the Texans, and it's different. C.J. Stroud is obviously a pro. But when I watch him, he just looks slow-footed, slow release, and when that concerns the hell out of me. He can get away with it at Ohio State. I don't know if he can get away with it with the Texans with that bad offensive line. Lacey, and again, we're adjusting down for college, has quick feet, quick release. His processor seems right on time. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that we got to see him getting put under so much pressure because all that did was boost my confidence in him. What happens when he has a good offensive line, a complementary run game? The guy's going to play really well.
Yep. Yeah, and even when they started to get so much pressure up the middle, then he started, okay, now I got to make quick reads and quick throw. Like he was also adjusting to that pressure when he wasn't stepping up. So, yeah, I thought KJ had a great showing. I feel a lot better about QB2. God forbid if something happens there that he can right the ship. What's up, Nick? Oh, you're in San Antonio officially? Let me know.
Oh, really?
I'm excited if you're back, dude.
Move, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's just working. He's always doing his clandestine operations all over the United States, so you never know.
He's down there on the taco tour doing the local food scene.
Yeah, that's
I think they can win games. Pull up that roaster comment.
Roaster, Josh Pate mentioned Texas can win with Lacey, but I imagine he came to that conclusion from the info he gathered on IT.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the same place Sark got it, and then Sark probably related to Pate. I think Texas can probably win some games with Diabell later in the year if they have to. Obviously, it would be heavily focused on protecting him, but Diabell had a good spring as well.
Yeah,
they definitely got enough around them to win a few games if they needed to.
And San Antonio for the next 3 years. That's great to hear, man. I'm glad you're back in Texas, man. All right. Running back. How did things go there? You start with Brown and Smothers a bit banged up, but they did all right. So what's more on them?
Yeah, they had. I think they both lived up to what they were expecting. Raleek, it's kind of like what we scouted in January. Raleek seems like the bigger playback. Smothers is more of they get it. I came up with this comparison again. Not to talk Texans. I know half this channel doesn't watch the Texans at all, but Woody Marks, who I really liked at Ole Miss, and then he transferred to USC and changed his name, and I forgot who he was. And then I was like, oh, it's the same guy. I like him too. I think Hollywood Smothers can be Woody Marks, a guy that kind of just drives it up between the tackles and bounce it outside when he needs to, has enough speed, but runs with more pop than you'd expect. But more of a no-nonsense runner. I think they complement each other very well. But obviously, Derek Cooper's the most talked about running back as far as upside and probably as far as expectations go for later in the year. These guys always got to get their feet wet. You see young running backs, they miss the hole all the time. They lack the vision or the feel to understand the run game, and so they sacrifice yards. Where Raleek Brown and Smothers, where they're going to punish the defense if they make mistakes. If they're out of their alignment, they're going to punish it. We're not sure that Cooper's going to always see that early on, but he's going to develop throughout the season. So that top three is going to be really good this year. Obviously, some of that is dependent on the offensive line, but not all of that is dependent on the offensive line where it was last year.
We got a very official don't sleep candidate, which is big for us at IT. Ryan Niblett is now officially a do not sleeper and finding a role in his group. More talented Cash Jones from Georgia on third down. So they got to repay him for all he does. And so it's like, it makes sense. They're going to try to get a package together.
Yeah, somebody just picked up Cash Jones undrafted. I saw that. Those guys are the ones that they really bother you. They have like 5 snaps a game, but one of them broke your back because they're just so hard to cover. You're looking at all the other talent on the field. And you even know that okay, if this guy's in the game, they're not doing it's just a decoy, and they still make plays.
That was Keelan Robinson. At one point, he had 5 carries for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that sort of player. I bring up this Drew Kelson one.
Drew Kelson, our very own, says Woody Marks gets up limping after every carry.
Yeah, it's because Joe Mixon couldn't stay on the field. I mean, they depended on a rookie way too much. Whereas our Woody Marks, Hollywood Smothers, has a complimentary fleet around him. Not worried about him. But yeah, Marks, luckily they got another running back, David Montgomery.
Well, here's the other half of our NFL fan base. Texas has to work on penalties. They act like the Cowboys. So
yeah, we are the Cowboys.
So we got both halves of our NFL fandom there.
Hey, the Cowboys' dreams came true with Caleb Downs. I mean, I'm a Niner fan and a Texans fan. So the last thing I want to do is see Cowboys success. But my life is better when half of my readers, or even more than half, probably 75% of my readers, are happy about the draft. So they're already ginning up for the season, getting excited about it. They had a good draft too. Both teams had really good drafts.
Yeah, it was cool. It's like, all right, Caleb Downs is special, so it'll be nice to have him on the home team for me up in DFW. All right, we got running back. Let's look at tight end. We're still kind of searching for that guy, the number one, like Sanders or Helm. What does that mean, Eric?
Yeah, I don't know why it was so simple, but also sort of profound, because you're right. There hasn't been that go-to guy emerge. It wasn't quite Nick Townsend, even though he made steps. It maybe not. It might be Spencer Shannon, honestly, even though he's not as dynamic with the ball in his hands. But obviously knows where they like to run those little squat routes, and he proved to be really reliable on those. You hit him for 5 yards. He's so big and strong. He's going to pick up another 3, 4, or 5. And he can run well enough to run the routes where you scheme them, open like Helm, especially going contra flow. You kind of those throwbacks where the defense is totally lost. You can do that with him. I still think they're going to try to scheme Townsend more like they did Sanders, but we haven't seen it yet. At least not fully. There's been signs of it, but there isn't that clear go-to guy. That is one question mark for the position. But other than that, they can execute schemes well. Still getting better at blocking. But, of course, the reference we have of them going up blocking is against 2. Texas edges. Even Texas 3 deep edges are very good. So there's still some work to do, but I like the room. But it's not the source is right. There isn't that go-to guy yet.
Coach, you're a tight ends guy.
I was going to say, do you really need a go-to guy in this offense? Because you got so many other weapons, right? Like you got 2 legit receivers. Then you got 2 running backs who can catch out the backfield. You got a 3rd receiver and a 4th receiver who can also steal catches and targets. So you forget the one year he was at Alabama, they didn't really have a tight end, right? But they had a lot of legit receivers who took up all the catches. So that tight end won't be the 3rd option.
Yeah, Spencer Shannon. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good counter. We're trying to be greedy. We want it all. Where's Brock Bowers? We want Nick Townsend to be Brock Bowers this year. But yeah, Spencer Shannon can be Miller Forrestall, who Sark had in 2020. Unsung hero of that offense, maybe not hero, unsung player on that offense. I think he had 20 receptions, but those guys tend to find themselves wide open because of all the supporting cast around them.
That's why I'm not super worried about it, because it sits and seams, and we saw that pretty much anyone can turn around for 5 yards and catch it. And then the seams, a lot of the times it's right there. So I'm not super worried about that. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a dominant tight end, but it's like they're so scheme dependent and Sark gets them wide ass open. You don't have to be super talented to get some success. We were excited about the team until we started comparing to the Texans and the Cowboys. Yeah. It's not super fun times.
Hey man, every team has.
At least y'all got a defense down there.
Yeah, Houston's got a hell of a defense.
We have the opposite.
Yeah, they just got a badass D tackle too from Ohio State. So where's Mello? Mello should be in here celebrating Cade McDonald to Houston.
Yeah, and Caleb Downs. All right, offensive line. There's so much unknown with those guys missing spring. Cohesion and lack of experience is what plagued the O-line. Getting Gooseby back is key. Siani's going to be good at a minimum. But yeah, I think we're still kind of where we were pre-spring of like, I don't really know what to take of this yet.
Yeah, limbo, man. We're just in limbo. We got to wait. I need August. It'll be our number one focus by far in August as far as like position groups. The source brings up Andre Kojo, which is just another unknown. He redshirted his first year, was just a developmental player his second year, in which there was times where people thought, oh, he's not going to make it. And then it was like, oh, wait, this guy looks a lot different. Then he keeps improving, and then he gets hurt. So he misses his third year. So he's an unknown, but man, he looks really good right now. Physically, athletically, he looks really good. I wouldn't be surprised if he found himself in that conversation at guard, but they really need Lawrence Seymour to look the part upon arrival. Yeah. That's a huge part. So yeah, we'll be watching offensive line throughout all August. I'm going to be extremely skeptical. I'm going to have my magnifying glass out looking for BS. And we'll see. Cohesion again is a harder thing to get source material on, right? I mean, it's like, yeah, they look cohesive. Well, I don't know what did the defense show? Were they bland? Were they going up against the same defensive looks that we saw in the spring game? It's hard to tell.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Seymour to me is a huge piece of that puzzle. I can stomach a mix of like Robertson, Sikorsky at center. Baker's athletic enough. Like it makes more sense. But if Seymour doesn't pan out as I thought, or something happens there, then it gets weird fast.
I think we haven't talked enough about Robertson at center because they can't be wrong about that. They simply can't be wrong about center.
I talked with Paul and Ian on some shows, and then once again, I saw one practice. I also saw Sikorsky towards the end, so meaning he wasn't necessarily with all the against all the ones. And then also, I think they had adjusted a little bit to Muschamp's aggressiveness at that point. But there were things that Sikorsky did that I thought in that single practice looked better than Robertson. But I don't know what he knows. Like centers have to be smart and know protections. I think Sikorsky, what I liked is that he's big. Sikorsky's big and he didn't get shoved in the backfield. So that's really kind of what I felt. So I don't know on center yet.
We'll see.
Defense, edge, defensive end. Guess what? The room is good at football. I don't think that's shocking. But we keep hearing about Wesley as well, Eric.
Yeah, source said he's the best defensive freshman, and you're like, okay, well, that's good. He's highly rated. But, man, we heard a lot about Samari Matthews throughout spring. Obviously, Tyler Atkinson is very highly rated. But, yeah, so Muschamp just loves Richard Wesley. And I think a lot of it has to do with, the physicality and the athleticism is there, but he's also, already got a veteran demeanor in the locker room, just a maturity about him. it's obvious he's going to be a pro for a long time. Just, certain guys develop into that. Some guys have it upon arrival. Very few have it upon arrival, but when they do, we try to report that because it usually pans out. And it could be a guy like Baron Sorrell, who maybe doesn't have Richard Wesley's talent, but you hear he has it upon arrival, the maturity, and then of course the physicality has to bear out. Baron always had that. Those guys just become pros, man. It's just they're maximizers. So Richard Wesley is a maximizer in a 5-star body, and Muschamp loves him. He's going to play this year. Again, it's going to be. I don't want to say sparing. It'll probably be hit or miss depending on the game. Maybe not quite as much as Lance Jackson last year because now he has Lance Jackson in front of him. And Zena's got to play a lot, and Voskic's going to play a lot. Smith-Oragbo is going to play some. But Wesley is. I think it says a lot about him that he's the best defensive player right now of the freshman class. When we spilled a lot of ink on Samari Matthews, and of course Tyler Atkinson got some praise too.
Yeah, that room's going to be absolutely killer. How you had to name everyone before him is also it's just silly how many good guys are in that room. Before we keep going though, let's hear a word from Academy.
Oh, it's an auto worm bite. Turns out.
Giant. Oh, a giant.
It's a giant. So.
Oh, it's a giant. Oh, it's a giant. It's a giant.
Been watching that show Alone on Netflix. I'm learning a lot about the ways of fishing, guys. I think I could easily do it. I think I can go out there, put in a good 90 days, do some ice fishing. That show is a lot of fun. Check it out. All right, defensive tackle. When you're mentioning Baron Sorrell coming in and just being a bulldog, I immediately thought of Byron Murphy as well. So this also does good. But they don't have a Byron or Tavondre Sweat, just like a miles ahead dominant guy. But they have a lot of good players that can do some good stuff.
Yeah, and Byron, Byron and Tavondre are on opposite ends of that spectrum, and they got drafted accordingly. Byron, a 3-year guy, Tavondre, a 5-year guy. Had Tavondre, I go back to Malcolm Brown versus Hassan Ridgeway. Hassan Ridgeway was more talented than Malcolm Brown, but Malcolm Brown was wired to come in and compete and do everything the right way. Malcolm went out in 3. Hassan, he's had a long career. I think he's still playing. But Hassan should have been a guy that is dominant in the NFL. Tavondre is rounding into that sort of player relative to playing nose tackle and eating blocks. But I think Hero Kanu is wired more like Byron. Just not sure that he has the sort of lateral agility. Byron moves like a giant fullback. I don't know that Hero moves like that, but Hero's wired that from a leadership standpoint and a bulldog standpoint. Pretty physical guy, maybe not like Byron. He's the leader in the room, of course. The real excitement for me is with what we heard about Murad Watson and Alex January throughout spring. Murad Watson, we heard a lot about as far as getting much more physical against double teams, which is going to go a long way in this defense. He still has that ability to penetrate. And then Alex January, found out he was only 19 years old. That gets me really excited because that means a breakout is probably in order this year, ahead of a season in his senior year where he's kind of a known NFL prospect. It's also if he breaks out this year, it probably won't be to the degree that he'll leave early. I like that. So I want him to break out just enough. Yeah, still only 19 years old, and so that's a very intriguing data point because really the only knock on him has been physicality, and not because he's soft mentally or he's not soft. He just has to keep getting stronger. So when I found that out, those two go hand in hand, right? He needs to get more physical because he's still only 19. He plays a very physical position to begin with. So I've been high on January since he came out of high school. I'm as high on him as ever. He's a breakout candidate. Murad Watson, and then what the source said was at a lot of positions they're more talented in the younger ranks. They just don't have the experience. And here, we all love Josiah Sharma. Moran Charles looks like a freak. And then Justice Terry missed the spring. So that room, the upside is in the lower ranks, but there's a really good floor in the upper ranks, and we're still trying to see what the ceiling is in the new upperclassmen who are Murad Watson, just a junior now, and Alex January, just a junior now, and as we said, only 19.
Yeah, on top of your point, you got so many bodies. Like you might not have a Sweat or Murphy, but I think in spurts you can get that out of so many guys. Like you don't have to be that all game, right? You remember when Sweat and Murphy were here, when they were rotated out, you didn't really have anybody who could play to that standard. Now you don't need those guys to play so many snaps, but when they come in, they can still play to the exact same standard. So I think having that room loaded is huge, man. You guys can just come in and play. You might not have Sweater Murphy, but you got a lot of guys who can play with a lot of consistency, especially Big Drafard there. You get him fresh, man, he's gonna dominate people.
Yeah.
Hey, Connor, can you go up to Nightmare CH before we lose that one in the queue?
That was actually where I was going next. If we get to January next season without winning / making the title game, what do you think the reasons will be based on what we learned this spring?
3 things. The offensive line, once they meet like-for-like talent, and not just on the D-line and the offensive line. They're going to play defensive lines that are better than the offensive line, but the overall defense is going to be, wrecked because they can't keep up anywhere else. But once you meet a like-for-like talented team, the offensive line issues could come to bear, like we saw in 2024. So that's one. Bad luck is always another one. It could be, you doink a field goal from 52 that would have won it, something like that. The margins are so much smaller. It could be penalties and just the other team outplayed Texas. We've seen that. It could come down to a play call. We saw that again in against Ohio State. And it could just be flat out coaching. They got out coached in that game. It could happen. I go back to 2023 a lot. The 2 games they lost that year was OU and Washington. OU and Washington came out and played a much cleaner game to start, and Texas was playing catch up. They can't really they can't do that. You can't do that against good competition. You have to come out and set the tone. So those are the reasons I see. But offensive line is my biggest concern.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. I immediately went to offensive line, penalties, coaching battles.
Coaching,
yeah, you hit it exactly.
Special teams.
Yeah, and just turnover luck, like Eric said too. Like the ball didn't really bounce our way in the fumbles department, and that's luck. We know about overtime; they average out to 50-50. So if we can get a swing back to where those fumbles do fall in our hands more, those little things that aren't necessarily coaching could be beneficial as well.
Yeah, every team needs a little luck.
Yeah. And you'll notice that those good teams happen to also be lucky teams, right? Yeah. So you need to be good, prepared, and have the ball bounce your way.
Hey, go to that Drew one too. We got a good back and forth between our Charlie. Charlie's too busy typing over here to actually do the show.
Yeah, when I see Charlie in the chat, I'm always confused for a second. I'm like, wait.
Where's he at?
Which one? January needs his full 4 years?
Who said that? Drew?
Yeah, Drew.
Yeah, well, okay, we'll put that up. Yeah, that's by far the most likely outcome, and I think it's even more likely given his youth. And I think that's a reason for him needing the 4 years is that he's still young. But I see him having a good year and then really breaking out in 2027. That information got me pretty hyped up. All right, go to this one.
So I remember this is after Ohio State. Murad Watson is going to have to show me when it matters. I'm showing Drew and Jet the goal line stand from Ohio State, and both of them were like, oh no, because he was getting double teamed and pushed back. And so I was asking Jed, I was like, what do you do as a linebacker when that happens to you? He's like, dude, I played with sweat and all. He's like, that never happened to me. He was like, it was never an issue.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that exact video. I don't remember it well. I don't remember it fondly, but I remember it clearly.
Yep.
That was one of the things that I really let off one of the team intel pieces early in spring ball when somebody told me that he was doing much better against double teams and earning a lot of praise from Muschamp and the coaches, being called selfless for his ability to make the guys around him better. He'd taken on 2 blocks and playing bigger and stronger. And it was, I double check. I'm with Drew on this to where I asked about it. Every other practice, how's Murad doing? Hey, how's Murad? Because I kept wanting to poke holes in it and see what's going on. Yeah. I still need to see it, but I trust my sources. And same source that I'm sitting there going, Juice Cryer can't run with anybody. What are you talking about? And I see him running the freaking seam to the point I have to ask, who was that linebacker out there? So
he made him play.
Yeah, these sources are right more often than wrong on the stuff that they can put their eyes on and see. There's a lot of stuff they can't possibly know, and then we're going with opinion. Right. But I feel good about it, but I'm with Drew. I still need to see it. Now, Charlie, of course, if you scroll down to his, he says, or scroll up, Murad's on the comeback tour because Charlie
I was big on him after his freshman year at Syracuse when I got him. I thought, okay, this is a 3-year player. He's going to be going to the NFL. And then it didn't show up. It's like, wait, what happened to him? And now we're getting some positive feedback. Like maybe the light bulbs came on. Maybe his freshman year, he didn't know what he was doing. They were just letting him attack. And maybe it looked good. But now you got to play real defense and take on double teams and be a defensive lineman versus just attacking. So hopefully it's gotten better. But, yeah, we saw a few games last year. It's like, oh, man, what are you doing? Like he was on skates. Like, come on, man. You're too big for that, right? And so – I don't know. Maybe he's going to come back to her. Maybe the light bulbs came on. He's finally learning how to play defensive line. I guess he really has no choice, or you won't play and you'd be out of here. So maybe he's kind of growing up and realizing his role. I hope so. And because I thought he was really, really talented at Syracuse his freshman year.
And he was talented in the pass rush. It was just the run game where he was getting got. But he has always been effective on the pass rush too.
Well, welcome to this line of work, Charlie, where a lot of times we're wrong. We're not really wrong. We're just early. I mean, it took, Vernon Broughton seemed like 100 years. It took Vernon forever to make me right about him.
You were praying to God every season with Vernon Broughton. You were like, please.
Hey, I'll never forget Bo Barnes on a visit. He's like, man, when Vernon Broughton hits the sled, it sounds like a train crash. Man, I was like, Eric was like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, when you relayed that to me, I was like, oh, thank God, this is the year.
All right. Let's talk linebacker. Controversial defensive position. But I'm hearing way better things than I thought, right? Seeing Juice Cryer run the seam was a big factor. We don't have Smith back yet. We saw what Biles can do as a deadly pass rusher. You also see him get plenty of interceptions, most likely this year too. But we were worried about size and depth. So kind of what's going on there?
Well, it's a funny roster in where, you got some older guys with experience and then nothing in the middle and then a bunch of young, talented guys. It's kind of like defensive tackle where you say, the young guys are probably a little bit more talented overall than the older guys. They just don't have the experience. And that's not to say the older guys don't have talent, because quite clearly Rasheem Biles he might be the most talented guy in that room for all we know. Yeah. Tyler Atkinson would have something to say about that. But yeah, Cryer, they're happy with Cryer. I think he might even surprise them with how well he played. So again, I do think Ty Anthony is going to be the mic paired with Biles, but Cryer's going to play a lot, and I think there might be some mixing and matching depending on what the defense is trying to do. Cryer is going to man the box. If they're trying to exploit space, you're going to want Ty Anthony out there at Mike. It's funny to me. Source goes, I don't even know what Cryer was doing running the seam. They usually have that guy tailing running backs. So it must have been there trying to test him a little bit to see what they could do. Sark was trying to catch him slipping, and Muschamp might have altered something. I don't know. That was a really interesting play. But they love the freshmen, all three of them. They feel like they hit on all three of them. I always love when I hear that. That means they at least hit on two of them. And we know that they hit on Tyler. And then, Rocky Cummings obviously has a bright future. My favorite thing I heard about Cummings was, it started spring off with going, maybe he's an edge. Who knows? We got him for a linebacker, but he's so big, you never know. And then after like 3 practices, he was dinged up early, so he missed a practice or two. But when he came back and was fully integrated, they're like, no, this guy's a linebacker. We've seen enough. He's going to be a linebacker. So that's really exciting. They kind of lucked into that linebacker room. Atkinson, of course, was NIL. Cummings was a very late addition, in part because Wilcox got fired at Cal. And then Kosi Okpala, I could have recruited him to Texas. That kid was destined to go to Texas. So, but who cares how they got here? It sounds like they got a really good group. I'm really excited to see those guys play in spots this year.
So am I. That whole room is exciting. And Cummings is like a linebacker. He might be too big even, which is a great problem for a linebacker.
Hey, hopefully he's like that kid, the Wisconsin kid went to Ohio State. Allegro.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited about this room going in the future, a couple of years out. Any updates on Ty Anthony?
Well, I mean, he had surgery, and so they kept him out. I think some of it was precautionary. Obviously, Ty Anthony is a self-starter, fully bought-in player. He's a maximizer, still lifting lower body, even though he had the upper body injury. One of the toughest guys on the team. He's going to be Mike. Sources say, who cares? Nobody cares about his weight because he's the dog. I mean, it does matter a little bit as far as
it matters a lot. It matters a lot.
Well, it depends. If you can read the play, you can beat your blocker. It depends. It matters when they get your hands on you. Then there's nothing you can do. It's just science at that point.
Right.
But if you can beat the blocker, you're going to do okay. But you've got to be able to read the flow, and you've got to anticipate. in ways that usually come with experience. Everybody's extremely high on Ty Anthony. One of the hardest working guys on the team. Definitely a team first player. He's got the old school linebacker traits and kind of a new school linebacker body.
Drew ain't playing around. Coach Kelson, if we're doing this right, he's earning his spot. We're not handing him nothing, Eric. Coach Drew.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just he's got to win it on the field. I mean, if he goes out there and he gets outplayed, he'll lose it. But you guys are getting inside information here, even Drew.
I was gonna say. All right, safety. So this was cool. I don't know if Kobe likes it, but I do. That Kobe played some safety snaps late in the spring. So what he showed, he should, whenever he's played A&M, he was really good at reading and coming down and smacking dudes, right? So you think either like maybe nickel or safety there. Corners use safety as a slur sometimes, so you can't even get them to do it. But it seems like he's down, and I am intrigued by potentiality of some versatility there.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's been waiting on this one to at least get mentioned. I was surprised that it finally happened. I've been waiting a long time, but he has the physicality for it, and so that would be the only thing you worry about, like a longer, leaner cornerback. And he's only lean because he's been trying to stay at cornerback. Right. He could easily be over 200 pounds right now. But yeah, you saw him make safety plays at corner in the A&M game, as you mentioned, playing in front of him, using good eyes. Awesome in coverage. To me, he makes a lot of sense as Jelani McDonald's backup, and then you have Jordan Johnson-Rebel behind Derek Williams.
Yeah,
that could be a total game changer. That could be a game changer for the defense, but it could be a game changer for Kobe long term. Whereas he could go to the NFL and maybe be a third or fourth corner. Now, I'm not saying that's for sure. I don't know. He had a really good spring playing corner too.
Yeah.
But I think his ceiling at safety, it's kind of like a tackle that moves to guard, or a defensive line that moves to offensive line. You just lift your ceiling naturally based on your play style and your body type. So I hope to hear a lot more about this in August. I anticipate we will, because I heard it went well with him back there. And so this could be the start of it. But, I think some of this has to do with Samari Matthews as well, where Samari had the type of spring where you're like, well, okay, we got to get this guy on the field too. So how do we do this? It could just be mutually beneficial for everybody involved. But I know Kobe's had a bias towards cornerback, so I don't know exactly how this is going to play out. But I do think that his NFL ceiling is higher at safety, and potentially extremely high at safety. I keep going back to the Texans because that's who I watched the most along with the Niners. But Kalen Bullock is an absolute stud at safety, who I think they have similar skill sets.
I was about to say, didn't want to start a controversy, but maybe they see something in the younger guys like, hey, we can kind of move Kobe to safety, but at the same time, with a lot of match coverage that they're going to run, if you do go to safety, Kobe, you still get to play a lot of man, right? You can show your versatility at safety and show off your ability even at safety. So don't think, be a safety and as a negative, because you can do so much and take over the game at a safety in this defense. So I don't know. I like his body. He looks like Derek Williams to me, like the big, tall frame. Yeah. And go take over safety. There's no negative knock on it, man, because you get a chance to still show your man cover skills, even playing safety in this defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
you're not just playing too high 50 yards back. Like, you're going to have to match.
Well, and there's another variable here in play too that ties into nickel, and where Xavier Filsaime is getting looks at nickel right now. But Kobe Black, we know he can play corner, and now we really know he can play safety if he has time to do it. But wouldn't that make him perfect at nickel too? So I don't know.
Right.
But Kobe Black, if he plays safety successfully, he's going to have some very, very intriguing tape long term. But I do think his NFL ceiling is safety. But they've just got so many different bodies to mix and match with. You don't know what's quite experimentation and what is something to really pay attention to long term. But of course, we'll keep monitoring it.
Also, you can do the classic trick of how they would just name the nickel cool positions names. So when players, they didn't want to play nickel because that meant you were the fifth DB, but therefore they can just call them a cheetah or something awesome. So we can just create an awesome, like the destroyer position.
Well, they call it star. They call it star. I use nickel because a lot of fans still don't. If I mention nickel or if I mention star, they go, I get a lot of times, what position is that? I'm like, well, we've been telling you for 5 years, but.
Yep, they literally started calling nickels cool names so they could entice players to it. But that is going to be – that whole DB room is fascinating because there's so much versatility. There's so much talent. And I kind of feel comfortable whatever they do. Like they move black to safety, I'm like, makes sense. They move this guy to nickel, I'm like, oh, yeah, that adds up. Like I just really am impressed with the versatility and talent in the room. All right. We talked a second about corner with Samari Matthews getting in the mix. Last year they had Muhammad. Now all of them compete as the best cover guy. We'll talk about Muhammad here.
Oh, we had nickel or corner.
Well, we talked nickel. Do you want to? We can go more in depth on it.
Well, there's a point on nickel to mention in that they don't seem 100%. They know Grayson can play nickel and they love him there, but it seems like they still want to use him at corner too. I think some of that is because they know that's his long-term position, sort of like what we saw with Jade. So anything we watch at nickel, you have to kind of wonder: is this for? Is this like real? Is it going to happen in the season, or is it a matchup thing where if you have Filsamy there, is it more of a little bit more size and potentially physicality? He lacked physicality last year, but he was hurt for most of the season. Are they just playing matchups, or are they really? Is the intent to get Grayson out to corner? So that's nickel's very intriguing to me. We covered a lot of it.
Yeah, and it's an important thing in the Muschamp scheme too, and that's Muschamp's position, right? That he's really keyed in on. So I'm interested.
Right. So anybody he puts there theoretically is going to get coached up pretty damn quick. Either that or all right. That experiment ended abruptly.
The funny part is in some of the spring stuff, the stadium will get quiet and then we jump off sides and all you hear is Muschamp. What the heck are we doing? Just echoing throughout the stadium. Maybe
it's even funnier now because he's got the glasses on the end of his nose.
He has such a mix. There's me and Paul say there's podcast Muschamp and where he's bookish and a bit nerdy about football. Yeah. And then on the field, he goes full psycho. So he contains multitudes, that's for sure. All right. And then corner, we heard Samari Matthews, but of course we got a bunch of other guys there that are talented. Cade Phillips, probably.
Yeah, Warren Roberson is known for having the best pure cover skills in that room. And people are like, well, why does that just make him the starter? Well, there's processing and there's a lot of other things, and in play decision making hasn't always been perfect for Warren. So that's part of it. But as far as pure cover skills, Warren is probably the gluiest of the glue guys. Cade Phillips, I think, has the most upside. Very good player. If there's a guy that goes in the first round out of that cornerback room, I think it would be Cade. I'm not saying he's Leonard Moore, but that size and length and athleticism just kind of are obvious. Poor Cade, every time I see him losing a rep, he's an inch away from the ball. He's all over the receiver, right? So that's a good sign because as he gets more time, dials in his technique a little bit more, he's going to make even more plays. And then, Bo Masco, we got to talk about him. We had a source compare him to D'Angelo Pons earlier in the spring. And we just saw Pons go 50 overall at 5'8.5", 190 pounds or whatever. And so it's all about for Masco. It's going to be the shorter you are, the more ball production you have to have. Yeah. Pons had good ball production, but we heard about Masco having good ball production throughout spring. So I'm really excited to see him play. Obviously, he's versatile. They've used him at nickel at times, but it looks like they're settling in to keep him at corner. So I kind of see Cade and Masco and Littleton as your three starters. That's what we reported, probably after the second week of practice. I still think that's in the cards, but there's so many variables and even more variables now because they keep moving bodies around.
All right. Next up, we're going to talk NFL draft. But before we do that, let's hear a word from Andre.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results. Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
All right, let's talk NFL draft. Decent draft, right? Wasn't great comparable to the previous couple of years. Wasn't bad to where we had 0 draft picks. But wasn't a great draft. Wasn't a bad draft. I know by Texas standards now, people would be like, it's the worst draft of all time. But comparing to the rest of the teams in the sport, just a kind of a solid showing. let's begin first. We'll talk through these quickly because it's more about what the future is going to look like for us. Anthony Hill goes in the second round to the Tennessee Titans. Thoughts, gentlemen?
You know,
I love it.
Yeah.
I
Eric's
love it.
been saying that.
Yeah. Robert Saleh, obviously I'm familiar with him as defensive coordinator for the Niners twice. He took Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw in back-to-back rounds, back-to-back drafts. Warner in the third, Greenlaw in the fifth. They were all over Anthony Hill. I mean, they were all over Hill throughout the process. I think they got a little lucky to get him at 60. I wish the Texans would have taken him at 59. But the fact that Saleh wants him is a huge sign. He took him earlier than he took those two guys that became NFL studs and stalwarts. I think they're going to put Hill in a position to make plays, and he's got the playmaking ability to really capitalize. I love that. I mean, obviously the team's a total rebuild. Saleh didn't set the world on fire with the Jets. Who knows how long, if it's going to work out. But the early indications here are a guy that has a really good talent identification track record. Found a guy that I think is undervalued at 60. Should have gone much higher. I think it's a perfect match for Anthony. And you know, there's always draft buzz you hear about. And we were here in Tennessee's most likely, but that hardly ever pans out. We were here in Tennessee the whole time here, and it did pan out.
Justin Wells states 6 draft picks and 10 wins in a down year is a pretty good statement about where the Texas program is at. I agree. If that's a down year, I'm good with that.
Yeah,
I think my mistake last year, and I've said it a few times, is that I didn't know who was leaving, right? I didn't know, we knew Arch really wasn't, but Gooseby could have gone. There were some guys that could have changed the complexion of this draft, right? That didn't end up going. But last year, I remember we did one live. I can't remember who it was, but we tried to name draft picks, and it was a little hard for us. And they were going to come out, and that should have rang a bell to me, and it didn't. But this year, I think there's a lot of draft picks, and so that's why rare Connor moment. I'm bullish on the season, and that's probably my number one factor is I can name a lot of first round guys.
The talent was there, the experience, the intersection of experience was not. I let off my Sunday article on this. I thought it was a pretty good article. Sark always talks about, team success is a precursor of individual accolades. And I used Indiana as an example. A bunch of those guys started off at James Madison, where they never would have been on the radar to the degree they were for the NFL, including Pons, a number of other guys. But a lot of that also goes back to, when Sark says that, he's got it, and I know he does realize it, but a lot of it is on the head coach. The head coach has to bring in the right guys, put them in the right schemes. And obviously, I'm not sure I've ever seen anybody do a better job of that than Kurt Cignetti last year.
True.
So yes, the team success is a precursor to the individual accolades, but the team success, the good coaching is a precursor of team success. So this is a big year for Sark, but if Texas does their job, if Sark does his job and he gets the buy-in from the players, we're going to see these guys get drafted in freaking waves next year.
Yep.
Let's say you wrote something that do they break the record of time Miami was 6 in the first round? I mean, they definitely could. So I mean, it's a lot of time.
I don't, that somebody asked me the record. It was 6. Bama had it too in 2021. Was in Miami in 2004. But Texas. I think Texas most likely is 4. Very plausible is 5. 6 would be they lifted the trophy.
Right, they won the national championship. Yeah, you say in the article, chicken or the egg. I think it starts to spiral and spin, right? Because it's really the athletes are why you're winning, but those athlete spots get bumped up a little bit, and then your fringe, like 7th round guys, can become 5th and 4th, and so that's kind of how. But it is you can't really tell like which is which. 4th round, 124th pick to Chicago, Manny Muhammad.
Man.
I'm shocked. I was talking with Fuddy or messaging with Fuddy this morning about the Texans draft just in general, and then we talk about the draft. Probably not enough, but he's one of the best guys to talk draft with. And he said, a lot of those guys are you toss them in a hat after a certain number, and then it kind of comes down to what positions go on a run. He said other positions went on a run in like the 2nd and 3rd, and you could see it. Like one guy goes and it starts to domino, cascade, and going. He said, had there been that run on cornerbacks, he would have gone earlier. And that's probably right. I just think that this guy's going to be a 10-year pro. I think he can offer you some help at nickel too. But I just think he's a lot better than he's given credit for. Chicago seems like a pretty good spot for him. But maybe I've got familiarity bias because I know like kind of his whole background, and I know high school coaches very well, and I just know how he treats the game of football. But this guy's been a pro since he was in high school. The way he treats, the way he takes it seriously, maybe the way he negotiates. But I think he's going to be a very good pro for a long time. It's not a bad thing to be motivated by making money. It actually motivates people to work hard, or at least it should. And that's how Muhammad and I think his whole family is. So I think he's going to be a good pro. I'd be very surprised if he didn't have a career where at minimum we look back and go, damn, that was a good Longhorn.
Yeah. I saw some other corners taken before him, made me scratch my head. I was like, "Who? This guy didn't even barely play," but okay. Speaking of his family, like watching his cousins live, she's like, "Yep, I'm having another cousin drafted into the NFL." It's like, man, like that family is full of pros and people who've been drafted and played, in the league. So it's just so crazy to see like the pipeline they have. But man, I think his best football could be ahead of him. I don't know what kind of scheme Chicago really runs, but his processing skills, I think he better pick up the playbook quickly. I think he's going to be one of those guys, man. You can kind of move him around in the secondary. I think it'll help his game, but also help Chicago, man. But I'm excited to see what he does up north, man.
See, I'm a charlatan. I don't know anything about besides what I hear from y'all about the pro thing. I thought third or fourth made sense, kind of from the tape, but also, we played a lot of zone, so that's a factor, right? I think he's always seen himself as a man corner. But the ball production was really low. It was like 2 picks in 3 years or something like that, especially in his zone defense. So it's just the ball production was kind of something that was standing out with me on like, why are we not getting interceptions there, especially when you're in zone and you have eyes. So I thought third or fourth was kind of maybe not even this late, maybe late third or something, I guess was kind of what I was thinking.
We got some jokers over here in the comments.
Which one? The Justin Wells one?
Yeah, Justin Wells and then Nightmare CH.
Hey, Eric, can you power rank every position group by readiness to play now? I came up with this idea all by myself. I think it would be a good idea for you to do. Yeah, Eric's actually might write something like that soon. Maybe if you go to the board right now, maybe it's on there, but I don't know. After you write Justin's requested article, perhaps the team can do a question and answer session tomorrow. Would be a nice way to. That's really smart too. Wow, these guys are pretty good.
Yep.
We'll throw you guys each $20 for your suggestion. That's gonna be really big for the board. All right, next up, we'll get through these quicker. Trey Moore. This is when I was surprised, not surprised. I like Trey Moore, but I was surprised that he went in the 4th round because I just didn't hear a ton about him. Once again, Miami took half the Texas roster. Yeah,
if you saw this guy in more interview scenarios, talking football, you would be like, oh gosh, it's not just he doesn't have an edge brain, and no offense to edge brains, but they don't have to think nearly as much as linebackers. They don't have to be a cerebral. Trey and another guy, he showed up 5 minutes after he was at Texas. Of course, he's a little bit more mature coming from UTSA, but they're like, this is the total football player. And he just doesn't have enough experience at linebacker. If they could stash him somewhere or put him in some sort of hybrid role and then bring him along, maybe similar to what Texas did with Anthony Hill when he got to Texas, give him kind of simplify it, but then bring him along, invest him in as a linebacker. I think it's going to pay off because he does have the ability on the chalkboard to really understand what's going on. He just doesn't quite have the muscle memory. He was hurt during the combine. He had a strained pec that really kept him from bench pressing, obviously, but it kept him from running all out. So I think people adjusted for that a little bit, and he's an even better athlete than he tested, and he tested well. But high football character, high character in general, and untapped potential as an off-ball linebacker, plus the versatility to play some hybrid third down sub-package role. That's what got him drafted in the 4th round. And honestly, it could have been a round higher had he been able to run full speed and bench press, because he can move that bar.
Yeah. He was always setting the edge great, like doing his job. Like I really like Trey Moore. I thought he was anywhere you put him, he was sound and effective.
Trey.
Here we go. Our boy.
Yeah.
Taft, walk on to 5th round. Also higher than I thought he would go. I want Taft to go in the 1st. I love the guy. But I still thought they were going to ding him too. So this was another one that I was really excited to hear. And of course, Miami, he gets to reunite with Quinn. It's cool seeing his draft party with Makuba and Barron there. That was neat. So congrats to Michael Taft. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to go to the green room when you can have that setup he had, man?
Exactly. That was awesome. Yeah, he's at the lake and everything. So congrats to Taft there for sure.
Yeah, so he needs to go be the demon on special teams. We know it can be, but I really want to see him grow into his man body. You know, we all hit it at some point where the weight comes a little bit easier. I think, you know, if he can get up to 200 pounds, I think he's going to start in the league for a while. But yeah, he does. I just want him to add more weight to just, you know, protect himself against the way he wants to play.
So this is where I'll be a little negative. DJ Campbell goes in the 6th round. I mean, that's a 5-star guard. We gotta develop this position. This is driving me nuts. I thought also DJ Campbell could have been. No one agrees with me, but I stand proud still. Could have been the greatest fullback of all time. If you saw him doing routes in high school at tight end, you see him at 7-on-7. He was over the middle. I was like, this guy could have been the most legendary H-back this world's ever seen. But I guess I stand alone. But
it's a disappointing.
The 6th round wasn't the plan when he was drafted. We can rewrite some history, but whenever he was recruited. But to me, it's like the development just wasn't a great curve.
Well, I mean that round pick does not match what you saw on high school tape. Obviously, the athlete, the guy could play D tackle. His high school coach thought he could play D tackle in college. So yeah, this isn't where you want to see it. I'm not. Maybe there's some blame to go with coaching, but obviously it's part of it's on the player too. You know,
sure.
It's not. I know everybody wants to say that Flood can't develop guards. I just, you know, it's a small sample size for me. The talent has been better at tackle than it has been at guard just to begin with outside of Campbell. So that's where the small sample size comes in. I'm happy for DJ. I put that clip in there of what the scouting personnel guy said about him. They're pretty dang high on him. So I think they still see some of those 5-star attributes. You know, that obviously that high school tape plays into it, or the ranking that does help them. They're like, okay, this guy has these baseline traits that at least at one point were elite. You could still see some of that in college, and then also he just has that NFL feistiness and edge to him that he belongs that way too. So you don't have to really worry about. There's a lot of stuff you don't have to worry about, and then the other stuff you just think, okay, we do have to clean these up. The coach talks. There's some technical stuff they need to work on. But it's time for DJ to truly be coachable, because, you know, I'm not going to sit here and blame Flood for him going in the 6th round. Some of it with Flood, sure, but I'm not going to – it doesn't absolve the player. I mean, DJ Campbell – Cole Hudson started as a true freshman, not DJ Campbell, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I thought too many inconsistencies maybe. I mean, he got better each year, but he's kind of inconsistent play. But when we've seen kids get drafted this late and become 10-year pros right in the offense line, like if you take coaching, you get to the next level and really truly develop, get in the right system, man, he really can become something, because he has all the traits and tools to be really, really good. So he puts it together, man. I think the Dolphins got something in him.
We got some jokers here again, man. So Flood can't recruit guards either is what Eric's saying. No, they definitely bias towards
exactly what he's saying.
Oh, man.
They're going after tackles. Then we got the only red flags, yellow flags. I'm really upset I never came up with that one.
It's a good one. I like that.
And then this one, I don't think he's joking, but it's kind of funny to me. Flood needs to be made to explain what went wrong with him. Like, just sit him down and
whenever we see the coaches once a year for a presser, I'll make sure Joe Cook holds him accountable. But honestly, I'm actually more with the chat here. So it's like I'm just not impressed with what they've done at guard. It's like, and I do agree. It's like they've had tackles.
I didn't say I was impressed with what they've done at guard.
But it's also those tackles. His tackle development has really been Christian Jones. Everybody else kind of came in as see you in the NFL in 3 years, and so it's just
right. So that's what I'm saying. There's a talent differential at tackle and guard.
Yeah. But it's like recruit good guards, then, you know. So we'll do an hour-long show on it eventually, I'm sure. All right, Jack injuries, 7th round, 221st pick. Would have liked him to come back. I have mixed feelings here. I thought we didn't use him effectively. When we decided to use him, he'd catch like 3 toutouchdowns.
Yeah. Well, I've said it a million times. And people keep going, why did he leave? But I keep saying it, and I don't know, maybe I'll be answering this for the next 5 years apparently. But it was obvious that the future at that position is Nick Townsend, and that's it. So what's he going to do? Go pro, sit behind Nick Townsend, or go to the portal? And at the time, he didn't think he was going in the 7th round. He made the right decision with the information he had, and he fell in the draft. And now he's still going to he's on a team. He's going to get to go bully Cassius Howell to look better in the eyes of the coaches.
That's a good one.
And just keep developing.
Yeah. So I think we switch over to undrafted free agents here, right?
Well, first I talked about Ethan Burke. Like, I can't believe he didn't get drafted.
He's the one that has made no sense to me. Like, I would take, trying to not be biased, I'd take him in the 5th, even if I was stretched, but it's like, I didn't get that. I don't get that at all.
Yeah, we talked about Burke 2 years ago, like how sound he was fundamental. Like he has everything NFL.
He made huge plays and huge moments. He has crazy measurables and athleticism from lacrosse. I legit don't get
I don't understand that one.
When people look back on that, and maybe I'll be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I don't know if I'll ever bring it up, but internally I'll look at what I was wrong about. But if he does make it, people are going to be really kicking themselves that didn't give him more of the benefit of the doubt on that 3-cone drill and his shuttle. His times are really, really good for those taller edges, which that says so much about the way he bends, his flexibility, his ability to play with leverage. Burst, initial twitch. He's got those things that very few people his height and size have, and it's really weird to me because that's one of the things a lot of evaluators prioritize when they look at him. And we also saw him play tough, man. He's playing down there. We saw him playing, D tackle at times last year in sub packages. I think he doesn't have quite that versatility in the NFL, but he does have some versatility between being able to play spot 4-eye or 5 tech. Yeah, I don't know. And the character's there too. So we'll see. He needs to work. Who picked him up?
I don't know. I think
it was the Ravens. I think he went to the Ravens, I want to say. If I'm not mistaken.
Yep, Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Duh. His family's from Baltimore, which is where the whole background in lacrosse comes from. Obviously different coaching staff there in Baltimore now, but they've got a good tradition. I think he's going to make an impact.
Jalen Gilbo to the Panthers, and tough season, right? And ultimately ends up getting beat out. I don't know if it's tough for me to really give you a true grade when your breakout season was supposed to be with Akina last year. I don't think you got the fairest shake. But yeah, it's this makes sense as undrafted free agent to me ultimately, with those caveats that he probably didn't get the best opportunity to showcase.
He's got some NFL stuff going on, physicality and speed. But obviously requires more than that.
Matty Ice goes to Los Angeles. Probably the most clutch second string quarterback I've ever seen. Without actually having to play and be clutch, just come in and get the job done. So
this one's interesting. This one's interesting because we know the staff loved Caldwell, not just for what we saw on the field, just the way he came in immediately, was prepared like he was a starting quarterback from day one, and that's why that's partially why he was able to go in and make plays. And then we know that Sark is tight with McVay. So this one seemed like this was probably done before the end of the draft.
Yeah. Colbert Vard goes with Kansas City.
Nice. Hey, go give your – I don't know, where's Coburn now, but he can go up there and look like Coburn for a couple of years.
Yeah. Shipley heads to New Orleans. So that's cool.
He's got that kind of white dude haircut and mustache combo that could go well down there in NOLA.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Travis Shaw also heads to Baltimore.
Yep. Man, he's got a decent chance to make it.
And then Baumeister off to San Francisco. So Baumeister did a really good job for us.
He did. That's definitely a good punter.
All right. So I think, that's everyone that got drafted. We'll be real quick on this because we got only a couple minutes. But setting that stage, we think the draft is going to go very, very, very differently next year. So let's talk real quick through kind of who we think our first round. I won't pull up the article. We won't go through the whole thing. But let's talk through it first. First rounders. Start with edge. Colin Simmons. Duh. Now, does he go before Dylan Stewart? Does he go into these are all the games that'll happen next year. You'll have both of those camps, right? Like pure tall and long measurables for Stewart and dynamic get off with Simmons. But we also state Lance Jackson should be a first round pick in 2028. Yeah. I'll take that bet. And then Zena. But as far as next year, Colin Simmons for sure. Who else can go in the first round, gentlemen? I believe at wide receiver, we potentially have a pick there.
Yeah, Cam Coleman, right? We all know Arch Gooseby. That's 4. The dark horse for me, probably nobody's saying it, is Jelani McDonough. I think he can go in the first round. Yeah,
Jelani's a dark horse, and Rasheem Biles is a dark horse, even though, the problem is partially that their positions are devalued. But Jelani looks like Jelani looks every bit like what the best safeties in the NFL look like. He's got that sort of look about him, the size, the build, the speed. He'll hit you. He's not the most physical guy in the world, but he has physicality. And then he's got the range, the ball skills. I mean, it's just he's got all the tools. He just needs to keep putting it together. Wingo, Richard McCleary mentions Wingo. I saw one mock that put Wingo at the very end, which I like. Obviously, I'm biased towards Wingo. That's another one of those. I'll be right, but not today.
Production has to match traits. Traits are there, so if he can just showcase it, then he can do it.
Yeah, he needs a more well-rounded skill set, and also show a little bit more consistency with his hands, which we think he does have in him. And you know what? The one thing that I don't know that he's going to be able to fix is he's maybe just a tad stiff adjusting to the ball. That one is a mild concern to me. But obviously on the ground, he's a menace. High character kid as well. Got a lot of really he's probably an NFL number 2, but one of those NFL number 2s that is really freaking devastating.
And then did you give your thoughts on Cam Coleman, Eric?
Yeah, I mean he's got everything to be a top 10 pick. We became a lot more familiar with him over the last month or so. His speed, we did the team. What did we do? We did that in that one update. We did the most athletic players on the team and the most physical players on the team relative to their position, of course. And he was on both lists, like Colin was on both lists. That just says a lot. He's one of the most athletic guys on the team. He's one of the most physical guys on the team relative to the position he plays. Better route runner. And then we probably knew about. Of course, you're not going to learn a lot about a guy running 2 routes at Auburn, running more of the route tree. Going to be and because he's a better route runner, we're going to see more yak. So I'm really excited about him. The one thing I saw that was interesting, these mocks are coming out for 2027. They're all stupid talking points, and it's a fool's errand. And we know that. I'm not holding anybody accountable for being a wrong year in advance because I don't want to be held to the same account. But I saw one that had Colin Simmons as the 4th of the first rounders, and I was like, I don't think I can see that. He seems like the safest to go to be the second first rounder.
I just have to see the measurables because a lot of those guys aren't watching tape yet. They're just like, well, this one's 6'5", and so it's the really early stuff can be sketchy. So we do. So I would say left tackles. Locks are going to be right now. Simmons and Coleman are locks to me. McDonald on the cusp, but totally believable to be kind of that 5th guy for me. Wingo, I'm not saying that yet. I would need skill to go, but I think locks are Simmons and Coleman out of the guys that we've mentioned.
Wingo ties into what we were talking about earlier, in which if they have the season has a success, it's because guys like Wingo really took the lid off, and then he'll be drafted. If they win a national championship, it's like a 99.9% chance that Wingo balled out. And maybe not lived entirely up to what he would have been if he was a senior, but it's time to go.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm with you. I think Groove is a lock.
Let's discuss 2 more locks before we head out of here. The next one I'm going to go with is Trevor Gooseby.
Yeah, definitely. I think he probably would have had a chance to go close to first round this year if it came.
Yeah, it's kind of like the January thing where he's a little bit young for his age. I think he's 20. Just a little bit more physical maturity, just a little bit more time, a little more experience. Hey, man, we always talk about experience and reps for quarterbacks, but it matters at every position. He's a lock right now. He just has to stay healthy. He would have gone first. We saw a lot of guys rise. Hell, nobody was talking about Monroe Freeling, in November. These guys rise because of the value put on them by the NFL. So Gooseby would have gone in the first round. Now he's definitely going to go in the first round as long as he stays healthy. Now I do know it'll be interesting. I've heard some people say maybe he's the right tackle. I don't know about that, but that could be one thing that drops him from, let's say, number 10 overall to number 18 overall or number 20.
Then the final lock that I have is the quarterback for the Texas Longhorns, Arch Manning, another guy that would have been first round if he came out this year. Not even totally tied to production that we saw in the second half, which was there, but also just they love his traits. No one moves in the pocket like that. No one does that besides like NFL quarterbacks. The way he was
people don't freaking get that. I don't even think they don't appreciate it. The average fan doesn't appreciate it. Like, oh, he threw an incompletion, or he didn't. Dude, look at how he had to do to make that, to even get the ball out, man. That matters. Again, we talked about KJ Lacey earlier in the show about being excited about seeing him to make good decisions and play quick under duress. Arch did that, but except it was real live bullets all season long. Those were NFL plays. I came away way more impressed with him after the Florida game than I was before it. And most of the people I've talked to were down on him. I was like, we're not watching the same sport here, man. You don't know what to look for.
Yeah, he looked awesome versus Florida, even though I know the feeling didn't feel like that. And I think what mattered too, the end zone angle makes a big. Some fans literally cannot see some of this stuff, so I don't get too mad at them. But that end zone angle was showing Arch going to work, man.
Well, so remember a real problem after that game was people were going by what the announcers were saying.
Yep.
Remember Brooks Austin, who we have, what do they call him, the film guy?
Yeah,
and I have a lot of respect for what he does. I like his channel. It's useful for me. I learned something watching him, and I'll watch it in season. And I've interacted with him a couple times. Called him Bubba Sparks once. He reminds me a lot of Bubba Sparks, but he's really good at it. But he said immediately after the game he was going by what the announcers were saying. And I'm like, but that's still no excuse.
you know better than that.
Look, the guy's getting pounded. I think he had pressured something like 36 times. How's that even possible? So Arch is going 1-1. It was written a long time ago that he was going 1-1. And it's not going to be Dante Moore. It's going to be Arch. Even if they're even, nobody's going to take Dante Moore. It would take a Ian Boyd level contrarian to take Dante Moore over Arch Manning.
Oh, there's already some on there. I've already seen them on Twitter. They exist.
Yeah.
That sells.
Hey, throw this in there too. He did. He definitely did. Brooks
came out and said he was wrong about that. Yeah, he corrected. That's how we knew. That's how we knew he was going by the announcers, because he was like, "Hey, that's my bad."
Yeah. No, he's a stand-up guy. Brooks is a stand-up guy. He's a guy with opinions, and all of his. He's got certain things that I think he's got really good opinions on, and other things that maybe are just out of his wheelhouse. But I mean, that's all of us. We all talk too much, and we're all going to say stupid things at times.
Yeah, I literally have to talk on a channel for hours a week. I'm going to say something dumb.
The only way Arch doesn't go 1-1 if Granddaddy Arch Manning says that's not the team we're going to. That's other than that, he's 1-1.
Yeah, Cleveland, come on. If you want to see Arch for 2 more seasons, you become the biggest Browns fan of all time.
Nope. Nobody's getting fired for taking Manning #1. That's the problem too, is they're risk averse, and that's a damn safe pick. No, maybe in 6 years they get mad at you if something goes wrong, but no one's going to be mad at you for taking Arch Manning.
That was part of my calculus. When he was a junior in high school, and I said he's going to go 1-1. Well, it's that, and the fact that the lowest quarterback ever drafted in his family went 2nd overall.
Yeah, embarrassing for him to go 2nd overall. Very lame.
Imagine if he went 3rd.
Yeah,
like he would have to eat at a different table.
Yeah, exactly. You're not invited to Thanksgiving. So that's it. Simmons, Coleman, Gooseby, Arch are my locks, with McDonald being a very reasonable 5th edition. I don't know where you get that 6th. Like you said, hoist the trophy and somebody gets in there.
It could be Biles. It could be Wingo.
Yeah, me and Ian had a fun argument for like 20 minutes on Biles on last week. Ian said that he'll probably get drafted. I went the extreme. I said he's going to go 1st round. And then Ian was like, absolutely not. To be fair, I was wrong. I was off an inch and 20 or 10 pounds of his weight. I thought he was at 230. He's not. So that pushed me out of the 1st round. But Ian was like, he might get drafted. I was like, you're nuts, dude. So y'all can go back and watch
it. The other pit linebacker just got drafted, and I'm not a pit expert, but Biles is the better linebacker, and the other pit guy just got drafted.
Yeah, but he was getting mocked to the 2nd. He fell. So it's like, and they're the exact same height and weight.
Yep.
So we got to see there. But Biles is one that I'm looking for in the early rounds, and I'm sure there's a few others. But that was fun. But this is why I've adjusted. I've gone bullish, because I can name these guys very clearly. I can see the future here. Guys, head over to Inside Texas, flash sale, join for $1. New members only. We still love you, old members. But if you watch this channel every day, man, go join the board. What are you doing? Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful day. And this was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Sayonara.